Hello everyone, my name is Yusuf Abdullah Sandoval, and today I'm going to talk about the sale of used cars in Indonesia. So used cars in Indonesia actually has some quite a lot of potential in business. And why do I going to talk about this business topic is going to be the reason also I want to talk about in this presentation. So to save time, I'm actually going to talk about and discuss a few things in this presentation. First, I'm going to talk about the overview of used cars in Indonesia. Then I'm going to talk about the purpose of this presentation, because obviously you want to know the reason why I'm talking about this topic. Next, I'm going to talk about the market segment of used cars in Indonesia. Then I'll continue on to talk about the differences between used cars and new cars in Indonesia. And also I'm going to talk about the benefits of used cars in Indonesia, because used cars actually has a lot of benefits that you might haven't know about. And also I'm going to put a few data statistics about used cars in Indonesia. So first I'm going to talk about that used cars actually has some really huge potential in the market, especially in Indonesia. And that also comes up a few reasons behind it. Mostly because a lot of Indonesian people really love high quality yet low prices about stuffs, actually about a lot of things, especially regarding cars. And used cars actually has the winning market in it, because it also sometimes offer a really good value of price, and also qualities that are not far behind from new cars actually. And in the market also has some lot of things to talk about. So I'm going to talk about the segment market of used cars in Indonesia, mostly because Indonesian people really love using e-commerce and it's actually booming right now. So the segment market of used cars in Indonesia actually offers a lot of facts. The first thing is that the more high class people are in Indonesia, the more they actually care about the exterior and also the interior of used cars in general. That's actually quite true if you actually find out some dealers that actually talk about it. And the more used cars have some higher prices of it, the more they'll look at the interior and the exterior of it. Next thing, the market segment shows that used cars in Indonesia are actually quite promising, because almost about 500,000 people in Indonesia actually will love to buy used cars each month. And that's actually quite true if you look at a few dealers that actually said by selling online and also offline, it's actually quite promising. Also, 150,000 people actually sell their cars each month in Indonesia, regarding what type of car of it, from the lowest to the highest price. Next is actually Indonesian people in general actually, also what I said before, really love high quality yet low prices of used cars. Now actually a few market segments actually also show that I just found by Car Moody that did the research, is that 39% people actually favors SUV, and it's still the most favorable type of used cars in Indonesia each year. SUVs are because of family type in a family car, and it's actually really interesting to look at that many Indonesian people would prefer that car. Also, Indonesian people after SUVs are actually really liking of buying sedans, and that actually shows in a year that they are actually about 5 to 6% much lower than SUVs, and also one of the few favorable types. Also, the next thing is that about 19% of people love MPVs as the type for used cars in Indonesia. And it's actually interesting, because MPVs are actually going a trend based on buyers of used cars in Indonesia. And hatchback is also still might be favorable, but still defeated by MPVs. Okay, so the next thing that I'm going to talk about is the differences between new cars and used cars. This is actually quite interesting, because over the past few years, there are a lot of low-cost green cars, if you might know, that offers a lot of features with some expeditionally low price in Indonesia, mostly from Asian cars that actually sell their cars to Indonesia. Even though LCGC is available in Indonesia and is widespread, being used by a lot of people, used cars actually are still the favorites of almost every type, also in LCGC. And that also comes in a few reasons to it that I'm going to talk about later. But the main difference is actually the market share, and also that cars, especially used cars, are actually more favorable than new cars based on quality and also based on price. That is way cheaper than buying a new car. The difference of this is actually also coming from that used cars are actually really interesting to look at it based on the market and the perspective of businessman itself. So there's actually quite a difference. There's a lot of differences between used cars and new cars. So I'm just going to go on to the next one. This is actually the most interesting part, is on how the differences related on each context I'm going to talk about. Based on the price, obviously used cars are actually much cheaper than new cars, especially luxury cars, and that's why a lot of people actually favorite that. And also from low-cost green cars, used cars are actually more favorable than new cars. So yeah. And also the next thing is that based on the popularity, 70% of Indonesian people in the last 2 years favorites used cars rather than buying new cars. And it also explains a lot of things, because used cars also has almost the same features as new cars, and has got a half of price of it. Not only that, maybe the different things that you might ask is quality. Now this is an intriguing question, because new cars, people said, obviously has some better qualities than used cars. No, not really. It depends also on where do you buy from the dealers, and also what kind of type of used cars that you like to buy. And it's actually very individual to say from which car do you want to buy, but actually used cars almost have the same quality and are as good as new cars. Okay, so now I'm going to talk about the benefits of used cars. This is actually quite interesting in the market, and this business topic is also interesting because the benefits of used cars are actually a lot. First of all, used cars actually have way cheaper prices, especially in luxury cars rather than in new cars. And luxury cars are actually getting almost the same prices for new cars, but for used cars it actually goes down really quick for deterioration price. Next is also it has some low insurance rates, and it actually explains a lot of things, because new cars actually have some high insurance rates, but over the years, maybe like 3 to 5 years and then 10 years and so on, that insurance rate will go down after you sold it. And then used cars will pay low insurance rates. Also from modification and also from customization, used cars are actually having to cost really low for that. And because it also has a lot of customization costs that are available in the market on the interior and exterior parts. Next thing is that there are actually a lot of benefits behind it, and maybe there are 9 advantages I think that is found in the internet, but actually there's a lot. So I just continue on to the next one. The next one that I'm going to talk about is actually the few data statistics I'm going to show. Used cars actually show that most people will buy used cars in 100 million to 150 million, and that's from 40%, almost 40%, that a lot of people, and those are the range type that most people would like to buy, and especially from a lot of 100 million to 150 million cars that are actually really good, has some really good features of it. There's statistics show that actually about almost half of people in North Jakarta are actually favorable of used cars. And there's a lot of the statistics that I'm going to show you, and there's available in the slide. So I think that's all of my presentation. Thank you for your attention, and have a nice day.